I just came back from a trip to Estonia I'd like to tell you about. Estonia is our adopted people group. It's a country where 75% of the people claim no religious affiliation. It's a country where it's been defined by the survey work they have done. You know, Europe tends to be pretty liberal. It's the most secular country in all of Europe. And whereas they rejected Soviet communism, they did not reject the atheism that went with it, to the extent that 86% of the people say that they are atheists. They don't believe in God. So it's a tough place to be, but it's one of the places where we have 5 missionary families. Probably more of our missionaries are there than any place else because it is our adopted people group. This is one of our focal points in the world. When you see a wood pile like this, you know it's going to be a long, cold winter. And I just don't know how you get the wood off the top. But I had Hillary Pooh with me for 2 weeks as my kind of driver and interpreter while I was there. I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Neville Cullum, who's the head of the Baptist World Alliance. Interesting man from Jamaica, who Harvard educated and basically goes all over the world trying to get people to get along together because evidently Baptists sometimes don't do that very well. I had a wonderful time with him, had dinner with him and with the leadership team of the union. The full name is the Union of Free Evangelical and Baptist Churches of Estonia. So I just say the union, it's a lot easier. And these are the leaders of the Union of Churches, and we had dinner, and then we were at the same hotel, so I had a nice breakfast with him as well, and he was a really good man. Now, I was playing with my panoramic function on my phone, which I've never used before, so I don't probably do it real well, but this was one of the reasons I went was to be at their missions conference and to share with the 300 people from the churches all over Estonia who had come together in the city of Tartu. One of the neat things while I was there is I got to meet the church leaders of the Golgotha, or the Calvary church, and they've had this old wooden building that's like 85 years old, and they were just getting ready to demolish the side and the back of the building so that they could expand their space. And literally, like 2 weeks before that, the church on the right said, "Hey, we're going to sell our building. Would you rather just build our building?" Buy our building, and so they bought that building, and that's their new facility. So again, the panorama of the inside of the worship center. Their old worship center was very small, dark, could accommodate maybe 120 people tops, and this, is with the balcony seats 300 people. It's a beautiful worship place that they have now, and this is where our missionaries Crick and Mindy Poirier work. So it was great to share the enthusiasm that they all felt for that. And then I got to go to one of the churches that we've helped start, and that was the Riste, or the Crossroads Church in Tartu, in the middle of a Soviet-era housing project where there are 50,000 people within a 10-minute walk of the church. And this is an old Soviet youth center that's now been turned into a church. So I got to preach there on Sunday morning with Pape Sar, who's another one of our missionaries, as my interpreter. Got to have lunch that day with the Kalyuste family, and Kuldar and Margaret are going to be here in a couple of weeks. And got to, again, be with all of our friends there in Tartu. Then headed back to Tallinn to meet with Joachim Samuelson, who's the Vice President of Interact, which is the work we're doing in Sweden, trying to start 25 churches in Sweden together with Joachim and his crew, and so we met together on Monday with him. Tuesday, we were at the Estonian Bible Society to sign the papers for the money for the wire transfer for a new version of the Bible that we're publishing for young people, which is just very cost-effective. It's a nice size version of the Bible, and whereas now, if you went to buy a Bible in Estonia in the bookstores, the cheapest one you could find is probably 25 euros or like $30. This is one that we'll be able to sell in the bookstores for maybe 6 euros. So, about $7. Huge difference in getting the Bible out to people. And then as part of that, it's also going to be used by the union. We're doing this project together with them. They're funding part of it. We're funding part of it so that everyone who gets baptized or join the church, a young person, will get a copy of that Bible. So that's great. That'll be out the first week of December, ahead of schedule. So we're thrilled about that. Then we drove off to the island of Saaremaa, took the ferry to Saaremaa to meet with a group of pastors in a 4-day, 3-night summit together. And these are pastors who are chosen by the leaders of the union who are going through times of struggle or discouragement for one reason or another. All of these pastors are bivocational. They all work full-time jobs, and then they pastor a church beside that. One of these pastors had his house burned down and literally had one set of clothing left. Everything he had been lost. Another one was just going through some struggles in the family life. Another one in the church, some struggles. So we gave him all these black shirts from Stith Printing here in Santa Fe Springs, and so we look like a bunch of SS officers or something, but they like black shirts. So we had a self-directed agenda where they do some peer-and-peer counseling, and they pick about a half dozen things that they would like to talk about. But then we also taught the book of Philippians. We thought it would be good because Philippians is a book about reclaiming your joy, reclaiming your passion for your ministry. And by teaching them the book of Philippians for those days, on the backside, when they go back to their churches, they have, about 6 months of sermons that they can preach because they have had this. When we went to the bookstore to try to find a book on Philippians, there was nothing available in the Estonian language. No, not one commentary, not one book that details a Bible study on the book of Philippians. There's just nothing even in existence. The Bible Society people told me the same thing. So to be able to teach them something that they can't really find other places, hopefully is going to be a great help to them. One of the highlights is going out to the prayer house out in the country, one of these old wooden prayer houses, and meet for a night of prayer together. And this is usually the night that the dam breaks and all the tears come. And you can see them in this next picture worshiping together. And but they sing so beautiful. I wanted you to hear their singing. Here it goes. Wasn't that fun? We always close on the last day with a communion service together, and each pastor kneels down and we all come around and pray over them. And that was a great ending on Saturday. And then Sunday morning we were together at the Zion Church. Some of you in the choir remember this church. This was the hottest concert we had in that concert tour years ago, where people were passing out, and it was just so incredibly hot in that place. Well, it was much nicer this time of year. And you see the people who were there, and we had a great celebration of their 116th anniversary. And one of our missionaries, Toivo Pili, gave the message that day, and I just got to share a greeting with the people. So it was great, and then go back to Tallinn, close out some things in the office, and fly back home. So it was a great trip, and my final missions trip as senior pastor, a little somber, whatever, but good to be with friends and say goodbye to them.